Right, so possibly the most sinister bit of news coming out of the Israel-Palestine conflict currently underway has actually come out of Egypt, because Egyptian intelligence officials are saying that they warned Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that something big was coming from Hamas, yet were repeatedly ignored. Now, Egypt remains a neutral party in this, even though they are an Arab country. They act as intermediaries often between Israel and Palestine to reduce the likelihood of conflict. Yet Netanyahu has dismissed any notion of Egyptian warnings, calling it fake news. Well, what incentive is there for Egypt to lie? Netanyahu, on the other hand, if he is lying about being warned, has therefore allowed this conflict we're seeing now to begin, and everything that has come to pass thus far, the deaths and the injuries on both sides that have happened and will come to pass yet, is on him. And that's truly psychopathic. Right. So Egyptian intelligence have said they had been warning Israel and their leader Benjamin Netanyahu of something big coming from Hamas for 10 days leading up to the start of the conflict. Yet Netanyahu is denying any of it, calling it fake news, not anything factually accurate. The thing is, Egypt have no reason to lie about such things. If anything, they've an incentive to make the warnings since they share a checkpoint border with the Gaza Strip. And any warfare conducted against Gaza will result in Palestinians amassing at that Egyptian checkpoint, wanting to escape, wanting to enter Egypt to do so. 2.3 million people live in Gaza. A lot of people for Egypt to have to deal with, so it was very much in their interest to act as intermediaries, make these warnings, and yet Israel appeared to have completely ignored them. Why, though? Did Netanyahu just want an excuse to bomb the living daylights out of Gaza? Seems a bit difficult to come to another conclusion, especially going by the guy's past record. But that's not even the whole story here, because if true, that means he was perfectly content for his own Israeli citizens to be targeted as well, injured and killed by Hamas, in order to get that excuse. Now, for those of us who have seen social media footage of Israelis gleefully celebrating the deaths of Palestinians as they do, this isn't such a hard thing to believe, and if true, would make Israel a leading obstacle to achieving world peace. Also, when you listen to the words of those in Netanyahu's government on such things, it isn't hard to believe this either. One notable piece of video footage featured Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant saying, "We are imposing a complete siege on Gaza. There will be no electricity, no food, no water, and no fuel. Everything will be closed. We are fighting against human animals, and we are acting accordingly." No, you aren't. You're punishing innocent Palestinians for the actions of Hamas. But that isn't the same thing. Also, referring to them all as human animals is not only the language of the far right, it dehumanizes them, reinforcing the growing global belief and understanding that Israel is an apartheid state and that Palestinians are degraded, are treated as second-class citizens, do have to live by a different set of rules to everyone else. Also, where is the fallout from this amongst our politicians who are falling over themselves right now to offer their unconditional support to Israel and to Israelis, especially if it turns out Netanyahu did know all about this in advance and let his own people be targeted as some kind of an excuse to go to war in Gaza? Half the population of Gaza, incidentally, are kids. They're kids because the life expectancy there is so low. They're not Hamas, they're children. So who are they fighting? And there have been some properly sick examples of how UK politicians are reacting to this war and ignoring inhuman actions such as cutting off the water supply. There's even worse than that being said, though. Another member of Netanyahu's party in the Knesset, a backbencher in effect, tweeted out, Jericho missile, strategic alert, before considering the introduction of forces, doomsday weapon. This is my opinion. May God preserve all our strength. Nuclear weapons. Bomb the living daylights out of Gaza and wipe it off the face of the earth. Utterly psychopathic, and all our governments appear to do is fall over themselves to defend these people and stand with them. James Cleverly, the Foreign Secretary, when confronted by what Yoav Gallant said, totally ignored the suffering it caused by saying, Israel has a right to defend itself against attack. The UK supports Israel in defending itself proportionately. The truth of the matter is that this was a terrorist attack perpetrated by Hamas, who are embedded in Gaza, shielding themselves amongst the Palestinian people. So does Palestine under international law as an occupied territory, and Hamas came into being as a result of that. This is our Foreign Secretary, folks, the guy who should know the bloody obvious, demonstrating why Hamas came into existence, because if you ignore the fact Israel is in violation of international law, yet hide behind those same laws in order to protect them, those who feel abandoned will no longer take the democratic and civilized route, because all it does is consistently fail them. You want to deal with Hamas? You want to stop the killing? Then take Israel to task for their crimes instead of pretending this is such a one-sided issue. What cleverly is defending here? Defending the right to punish civilians by denying them the basics, the water, the food, the fuel, which he totally ignored in his response, is called collective punishment, and under international law is a war crime. That's what he just supported. The people affected most are not the ones engaging with Israel with violence. Violence that gets revisited upon them tenfold, and will here deny them even a basic right such as water. For God's sake, man. He wasn't done. He wasn't even done with this. He was gushing over Israeli ambassador to the UK, Zippy Hatobali, a woman who has said of the siege it isn't Israel's job to look after Palestinian people, despite them having the means to turn the taps off to water, food, fuel and energy. But it is now Hamas's job to do that, presumably magicking all of these resources out of thin air. But then she's also on record as having said there is no such thing as the Palestinian people. That she should be our Israeli representative just shows how desperately in hoc to the Israeli state our government here in the UK has become, how deep the collusion is. And it won't improve with Labour in charge either, with the idiot, likely future Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, happily saying Gaza isn't occupied by Israel, ignoring all the land grabbing still going on, all the land stolen in the 1967 war. That's all occupied territory, Rachel. And by the way, Gaza is occupied too. Otherwise, people could come and go freely and have their own means of power, water and production, instead of it being a literal prison complex, you absolute dunce. Well, the fallout from all of this has seen people amassing at the Egyptian border. In fact, Israel has advised Palestinians head there, ahead of them conducting further retaliative action. But surely you could argue they're just penning those people into a smaller area, making them more of a tempting target. Why won't Egypt open its border then, you might be thinking? Well, rather than being the neutral party, properly neutral party they are being portrayed to be, and as I've alluded to already, Egypt are not opening their borders even to save lives, it would seem, and actually are seen by many Palestinians as collaborators. If the people gathering at the border get targeted by Israel, will they change tack or will they see these people die? I guess that would give us our answer, but they certainly aren't letting people through right now unless they can pay the entrance fees, and Egypt just raised the price. 50% of Palestinians in Gaza are unemployed. They happen to be children, as I already alluded to, so they're trapped. There's a reason the Gaza Strip is referred to as the largest open-air prison on the planet, and Egypt are on guard duty, as well as Israel. However, having said that, news broke just this morning that Egypt will start allowing Palestinians through at a rate of 2,000 per day. So it'll only take 3 years to empty Gaza at that rate. I'm sure Netanyahu will wait, of course, before bombing them. The Gaza Strip is one of the most crowded places on earth. It's not a big place. Israel has provided no humanitarian corridor itself, something Egypt is demanding it do, before threatening to attack and kill more people. It has simply relied on an erstwhile ally to let people through and consider that enough. Egypt don't, as I've just said, but again it all lends credence to this view that Netanyahu has engineered this situation in order to eradicate Gazan Palestinians. Once again, it is treating people like they are less than human, violating international law, not that they weren't already doing that with their illegal occupation, and there's another land grab in the offing here because all those global politicians making excuses for Israel right now will find it a pretty tough sell to justify Israel taking over the Gaza Strip in its entirety, as I can completely see happening. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this video useful. Please like, share and subscribe if you did. More content out daily. Please do have your say on what we are seeing here in the comments below and be part of the conversation. Meanwhile, here's a video recommendation where not only have Keir Starmer's Labour refused to call out Israeli apartheid, but actually they have a donor strongly connected to South African apartheid, underlining just what a sick organisation that party is under the current leadership. And I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.